Hello. Good morning. Yesterday was a rough stream. Oh my god. So the point is that we're working on this thing that we currently call Mobx Lite. And the reason we call it Mobx Lite is because Mobx is quite low level and it's very focused on observation. Even though it has documentation on how to actually build an app, it's very like opinionated on classes and decorators and stuff like that. Uh, and there's a lot of API surface stuff you don't really need to care about, or shouldn't care about. That's the thing. Like this should be as transparent as possible. So that's what Mobx Lite is. It's like just taking what you actually need from Mobx, which is make auto observable, only that it is exported as reactive, and then observation is transparent. Um, Computed is just handled by using a getter. Reactions are discouraged because it doesn't help you to do state management. Like doing these observation effects are necessary, but in my experience, it's only necessary for low-level stuff like observation in components. It's not something you would actually apply to your state management because it creates indirection, and I don't want to go on another rant about that. Yeah, so that's what we're working on. And yesterday, yeah, and then we have this project called Family Scrum, which is a rather complex project, both in terms of managing data, but also it has some really complex UI. And then, like, how do we put this stuff together? And then we struggle with, like, we want to use queries and mutations as like to show how to use them. But Firebase is like based on pure subscriptions. And even though that works, it has some quirks to it. Like if everything's just going to be automatically updating, there's no way to like identify fetching the initial data. There's no concept of like things in flight. You're just updating a local cache. Which is fine. But I guess that's kind of the promise of Firebase. It's like you don't actually think about the states of the data. The data acts as if it's already there, except for the first first time, and that's fine. But that's not what we want to show. But then you don't really need queries and mutations. That's my point. Which is good, but not good for showing off queries and mutations. So what we ended up doing yesterday is that we're actually identifying now when, for example, we are subscribing to groceries and subscribing to changes. These changes only triggers if there's external changes. It doesn't trigger when they don't trigger when you make a change, right? So if I'm adding something to the grocery list, this subscription won't trigger. Because when we actually add something to the grocery list, we're going to revalidate our list. And then if someone else adds something to the grocery list, then we also want to revalidate. And this is how you would, one way to do subscriptions in a real app where you actually do a revalidation approach is that you expose subscription to the clients where they can subscribe to different kinds of data, and they're just notified when that piece of data has changed. So they can choose to revalidate. But then the server would handle sending the right notifications to the right clients based on who actually made changes to the data. Anyways, okay, so what we're going to explore now is Yeah. Okay, cool. But still, like, how do you. Okay. So it runs. Interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that. That Mobx actually runs, binds all the methods. But it's like, yeah, I want to still argue that's like, is implicit behavior. Like, I didn't know that. And it doesn't like the code doesn't act the way it's expressed. That's the thing. Like, that's the thing about magic, right? Magic is good when it doesn't change your expectation of how the code runs. So the only way to actually make do a binding is if you actually define a method as a property and use an arrow function. Like if you actually define your functions like that, then you know that, oh, this is going to bind this. But when you have like just this generic thing called make auto observable, it has nothing to do with, like, the code doesn't look like it's binding this. And that's bad magic, in my opinion. Convenient magic, but yeah. By the way, I'm a little bit off today. I had a an episode yesterday. Um, I think there's such a thing as parenting burnout. It's very weird. It's kind of like how burnout can hit you at work. So it's not like burnout at work doesn't hit you at the moment where everything's like overwhelming and you're constantly like chasing, never catching up. All of this stuff, it happens when things quiet down. So after having such a run, things quiet down, and then you can't get out of bed in the morning. And I think it's the same with parenting. Like parenting can be very much the same kind of environment that causes burnout in your job. And I had an episode yesterday where I'm like, I don't know, and it just came out of nowhere. And I guess just there's like nothing, there's no space between like being perfectly calm and being like in just completely full of adrenaline and just don't want to like be with anyone kind of thing. I'm like, I'm fuck this, I'm out of here. kind of like the peak adrenaline. And I just had that yesterday. And waking up this morning, I was like just sitting on the edge of my bed, which I couldn't do before because we had a long period of time where every morning started with like crying or our youngest sitting on my face. Like, but now we have like these amazingly quiet mornings. But still, I'm like sitting at the edge of the bed and I'm like, and again, like, this is not the first time, so I'm not like analyzing. I'm just curious about that like lack of motivation, and just sitting with it. But it's the same with parenting. You get burned out, and that's like some people are really good at this. Like they actually give each other space. Like I'm a person that needs to be alone. Like I'm desperately in need of being alone, and having kids, there's very little like room for that. So we've never been like, oh, you go away for a weekend. Like it's never been like that because it's so fucking exhausting to deal with the kids alone. And like both working full time and like we just don't. But now that's changing as well. But yeah, I don't know. It's exhausting. But yeah, unlike like work burnout, which can like you can it can take some time to get back from that kind of burnout, like parenting burnout. It, for me at least, I just need one day alone, not having to deal with anything, and I'm back up and running. So yeah, we were sorry, I can't concentrate if I don't talk about it. Where's was it here? Where did we put it? Here? No, I guess it's this. Oh, I think we have. By the way, why didn't I change this to? Where are you? Groceries. Oh, yeah, sorry. So I wanted to change this. Why are you complaining? Oh, sorry. This is, yeah, sorry. So I did another thing here. So this whole thing about, oh, what the hell? Dashboard. Oh yeah, sorry. We're not gonna have this. We're gonna do, and we're gonna talk about this. So, there we go. Go shopping. Anyways, so one thing I did here, which is also a discussion we've been through a few times. Let me just change this one as well. Is the use of context, right? The reason I've been so negative to using context is to, well, I love using context because it just means you can consumer state wherever you want. Yeah, I did see your Discord message, Adam. And I had a rant about good and bad magic. Basically, like when you read code, like I didn't know that, and you can't infer that from you can't infer that automatic disbinding by reading the code, right? It's such an implicit behavior. Like the make auto observable name doesn't say anything about it. You just kind of have to know about it. And then there's probably contexts within the class where suddenly that auto binding doesn't happen. But that's me just pushing. It's probably very, very practical. I love that we can have each of our like favorite approaches and just like what do you call it? Roast roast each other's favorite paradigm. But yeah, so one thing about using context. So the reason, so there's many things I get hung up on, but one of them has been like dynamic state, in the sense that this session is the session state is dynamic, in the sense that you actually only have access to family scrum state when you're authenticated. And consuming this as a context doesn't make any sense, because every time you want to access family scrum, you have to check if you're authenticated. Or you can still have use family scrum at the very top of your app and kind of pass in the session, and then you would throw an error if family scrum, if you're not authenticated. So you kind of use family scrum, you consume the session, and you check the session, are you authenticated? You return family scrum, or you throw an error, right? So you can do things like that as well. But then like you're creating, one thing is using context and risking the provider not being in the component tree. That's one thing. But now we're like adding to that unreliability. So, but then like moving the other way around, just saying everything should be props is safer, but it's not practical, right? because you just get, just even here, like I'm on the, where was it? The groceries. Where are you? Groceries. There you are. Just even here, I wanted to put like a component for every grocery, and I need to use shop grocery here, right? And instead of me passing that down as a prop, I can just use it here. Like, it doesn't matter. It's just like more convenient, right? And that's fine. So the point is that, let's see, is that I'm mounting the whole root of the state tree at the top, like in main here, and I'm passing in the session, and then in the session I'm doing all these checks for, okay, are you signed in or not? And when you're signed in, we're passing in the actual family scrum. So that has a strong contract. But in family scrum, I'm just exposing that family scrum on the context, because there's no dynamic nature in that thing. You can be guaranteed, as long as you have the context, you're guaranteed that you actually have family scrum there, unlike if I consume the session. So I think that's the most pragmatic. Like, everything is a mix. Like, there's no silver bullet, there's no black and white. You need to use props when you want to guarantee like, you need to use props. Maybe you can call it, yeah, maybe you could say it as, like, if you have state that has unions and you have a componentry that depends on a specific union, right? The union here is authenticated, unauthenticated, authenticating, and this componentry depends on authenticated. In that case, you should pass it as a prop. But if you don't rely on a specific union, you're fine using a context. Yeah, exactly. So that's the pragmatic part of it. It's like evaluating that risk. So we had this issue a lot. Yeah, exactly. So it needs to be high up in the component tree. And we had this issue a lot with, because we were using a lot of context providers, and we were wrapping context providers around certain features in Code Sandbox version 2. So you would have like a context provider around the terminal, for example, and around the preview, and around like all these pieces of UI. And then we decided, oh, we want to have standalone terminals and standalone previews and stuff. And then all of this stuff started breaking because it didn't have access to the providers it needed, right? So there is a definitive risk of doing this. Yeah. It's very interesting. Like, I guess there's no like straight, like simple rule of thumb to evaluate that. But I think you're onto something. Like, there's it needs to be like very high up in your component tree if you're gonna do it. Like, I guess what you can say is, the more nested a context provider lives, the higher the risk of something breaking. Yeah. Anyways, so this one's definitely safe. But let's move to our yeah, so we let's see. We have our groceries here, and now let's see, we're gonna I have to make sure I'm not removing any more groceries. So when I click test now, like, you see it has a little bit of latency, right? Where the hell is this coming from, by the way? Oh, is that inside the... Let's just fix that one. It's inside environment persistence. Console. Oh, look at me having all these imports. Yeah, so what we're going to do now, we're going to look at how do we actually do optimistic updates. So one thing I did is that I'm now sorting the groceries on I'm sorting the groceries on when they was added, so they come at they appear at the top. Yeah, let's have that as a rule of thumb now. The lower it lives, the more risky it is, kind of thing. And and it also kind of fits with, like, the higher it lives, the broader the state usage is, which also means the more friction you have passing it as props, right? So there's like this, it's almost like a rubber band kind of thing. Anyways, so we have this add grocery now, which is a mutation. And it has some pending params, and we're gonna rename that first of all. We're gonna rename it to pending param, because unlike React query, which allows you to pass multiple arguments to your mutation, I want to state that it's better to just allow one argument. You can choose what that argument is. It can be just a string, or it can be an object or an array or whatever. But the point is that we avoid having, so just to put this in context. So if I allowed add grocery to have like two different params, right? Then the params would have to be an array. Like, it will be the arguments array. And I don't like that. It just, thinking about arguments as an array is something you do very low level. You don't want to do that in like application code. And typically for a mutation, you rather pass like a single ID, or yeah, I guess you could argue sometimes you pass an ID and then you have some, yeah, I'm not actually sure about this. Because sometimes you pass an ID and then you pass an object with some stuff you want to update on that ID, right? And if you can only have one argument, you have to destructure it. Yeah. Yeah, because what would happen here if we allow this, like add grocery, it takes a single argument. Oh, sorry, this doesn't take any argument. But let's imagine that it was like, oh, wait a minute, this one's better. No, wait. Where is it? Shop grocery. Yeah, sorry. So shop grocery takes a single argument. And if I were to like look at that mutation, I would, okay, let me just write it. So shop grocery, pending params. So what if I wanted to check here that the current grocery I am deleting is the one we have now? So let's just do the check here. So normally I would do like pending params equals grocery.id, right? Because that's a single param I'm passing. Let's imagine it's called param. But if I have params, I would have to do this, which I just don't. Like, it's more correct. But it doesn't, yeah, it just doesn't feel right. Because if you have an object and you want to pass the ID, and then you want to pass the updating data, you can also do like ID. Like, you can pass an object that's like where you would typically want to pass ID update, right? You can also pass this as ID update as a single object, like this, right? So Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Because and the thing is, like, you develop it for the most common thing, and the most common thing is to have like a single argument there. Well, arguably, it's kind of like how you really should type the error state with an unknown, because that's JavaScript can throw anything, not only errors, but it's typed as error because that is the common thing. Yeah, so pending param is the when the mutation is running. So just to put it in context, when I do shop grocery, I pass in the ID here. And when the mutation is pending, close others. And when the mutation is pending, I have a pending param. And then I can use that data to show optimistic updates. This is the beauty of React Query. They nailed optimistic updates. So what I can do here, as an example, let's just call it pending params. So what I can do here is that I have a grocery, and what do I want to happen when I'm deleting the grocery and the mutation is still pending? I can go here and I can return null. So it will immediately, yeah, maybe we can just look at that. So I can choose to return null, which means that it just disappears immediately, right? But if something goes wrong with the mutation, like the grocery is still there, and then I can also have an if groceries shop grocery error, and then I can bring it back, but I can bring it back with error indications, right? Which is very, very cool. Or I could choose to not return null. I could rather do like style opacity. I could do this, for example. Let's see, let's add it, test. And then when I click it, yeah, it faded out a little bit when it was pending. So it gives you just full freedom in the UI to manage that pending state of the mutation you're doing, which is exactly where it should happen. Like what I've typically been doing for optimistic changes in the state is that I just update the state internally. But that doesn't give the UI any flexibility in indicating the pending state of the data. If an error happens, it's more tricky to like handle that. And now you have full flexibility in the UI to do whatever you want there. It's really, really powerful. Let's see. Yeah, it's really, really cool. And that's what I like about what we're doing now is that data is just data. Like if you're using Firebase with a subscription, you can handle data as just update your state, right? You just have a subscription to everything. You just update your state. And then you can choose to do like more optimal state updates by listening specifically to add, delete, and modify, which is a totally okay way to build this application. But then if you don't have that kind of subscription thing, you can use the revalidate approach that we're doing now, and then you actually have these very specific primitives for doing all data, really. And they are so powerful that just showing this optimistic thing, it's really, really cool. Anyways, yeah, so you know what I want to do? Yeah, what's this pending params thing? So let's go in and just change to pending param. Let's try that first. Yeah, so it's just a rename, really. It's a rename pending param. Like, is there another term for what we pass on a mutation? Or is it param? Mutation param? Like, there's 3 ways to do this. We can force it to be an object. So we can call it pending params, right? But then you have to define it as an object, which is also nice because it's like, yeah, so it's only there when you're pending. So that's why you have to do the revalidate as part of your mutation. So you perform the mutation, and in the same asynchronous function, you also revalidate your query. And that creates this like perfect transition from the pending state into the actual real state. So the only thing you have to make sure of is that wherever you're displaying your optimistic data, that's where the like final thing is gonna end up. So for example, I sorted by creation date on the groceries list, so that when I add something, I know that it's gonna pop in at the top, even though I'm hiding my optimistic li element and showing the new list of groceries. Yeah, pending params. So yeah, either we call it pending params, but we force you to pass an object to it, or we call it pending param, and you can choose it being an object or an array or whatever, or we call it pending params, and it will be an array. Those are the 3 alternatives. And I don't like the last one, because it's just unnatural to consume params as an array. And I like forcing an object, but then every time you don't want to pass an object, you feel like you're like, that's what triggered me to actually allow any. So as an example here, I'm leaning towards object as well. I think that makes most sense, but it's the cost of doing that. Just to so the cost of doing that is like, now I have to type this as ID string. Now I have to type it like this, which is like it's not horrible, but it's the cost. Like, you're forced to do that. And also, if you're not fully aware of this, like this behavior, you'll get like, I'm gonna, for example, try to do the most natural thing, which is ID string. And then this is gonna give an error. And it might be a little bit hard to dissect that error and understand what exactly is happening. But it will be just as difficult to kind of dissect is checked. So yeah. So that's the cost, right? So it's understanding when you don't exactly know how it works, it might be a little bit different. So for example here, is not assignable to parameter of type. Like you even see this, like this isn't true, right? Here it says that it needs to be like, it can't have any arguments, but that's not true. So it's very difficult to understand exactly what happens, unlike when you're in oh my god, I have so much stuff here. Let me just start closing others. Yeah, whatever, save. And like if you're down here and you have pending params and you try to do like ID, like it will tell you, if you hover it, it will tell you that it's an array, and it will show you like the actual type of each item in that array. So it's from not knowing how it works, this is going to be much more intuitive, or you can actually figure it out in the code itself. But when we use an object or just a single param, you're not going to figure it out by just looking at the code, because the typing errors doesn't make any sense. And I think this is why React Query did it as well. I'm perfectly certain they had the same discussion, and they ended up using the actual arguments array. Yeah. I'm going to change it to an array. I don't want to reinvent the pending params. So this needs to be, yeah, the thing we have to check though, I'm just curious about it. We need to check something. Extends and the, why are you complaining? Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, and we shouldn't, why did I PT? I'm not sure why I changed those. It's weird. PT P extends and the equals void. Oh, and I oh yeah, because it was god damn it. Oh. Yeah, it shouldn't be. Yeah, sorry. There we go. Sorry about that. Let's just make this consistent now. So we have TP, and base mutation also needs to be TP. TP. Do we have more base mutation? No, fine, great. And then P isn't void. Yeah, we can just have P now. So that will be P extends any, and then TP P extends void. Where? Oh, here we go. So this is just going to be P. But what I'm wondering is if I create a mutation here, test mutation ID string promise.resolve string test dot pending params. Yeah, it even, like, look at this. It even has a name of the argument, right? Update foo string. Look at that. Yeah, no, we have to do that. It's definitely the most discoverable thing to do. And it doesn't like throw errors at you that doesn't make sense when you're defining it. and it reduced complexity of typing in the library. Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna do that. So let's git commit. Git commit. Use array for params. Let's publish that. Oh, now it suddenly wants to go to the browser. That's weird. Sometimes it wants to go to the browser and sometimes it doesn't. It's weird. 738. Okay, minimize. And then I'm just gonna yarn and Mobx Lite latest. Nope, not public. Yarn dev. This is still on, yeah, 74. Okay, cool. So how do I actually want this to work? So I think I just want to hide it so it feels like instant. Yeah, I want to go for the insta feel. So we're gonna do what I did previously. If groceries, shop grocery. Oh no, fuck. Damn it. I forgot. We have, like, we're exporting the TP. I forgot. Did I even build it? I think I forgot to build it. Yard build. Because that's right now, right? Mutation. Yeah. Git add. Oof. Open in the browser. Let's see. Okay, let's go at it again. Let's restart TS server. Wait. Oh, fudge. Did I really break something now? Oh no. Oh, what did I do? What happened? What the hell happened? Oh, I did something really bad. What did I do? Why is this string any? What the hell just happened? Oh my god. T. Why does it say string any? Ah, what did I do? Damn it. I think it's the So parameter is type of, but I'm saying this is T. Oh, fudge. I'm I'm not oh, of course. Sorry, this was bad. How do I handle this? Well, what I really wanted to do is just export as make auto observable. Yeah, I think the way I need to type this type of make auto observable and this is a little bit more tricky. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, though. Okay, sorry. So object.assign. This is how we have to define it. Read only query and mutation. There we go. That's how we need to define it. So now it's correct. Yeah. Sorry about that. Okay. Look at me breaking stuff. Fix typing. And publish. So this was 6. There we go. 6. Okay. Restart TS server. Wait. Wait. Oh, I forgot to build it. Damn it. I hate. Why doesn't pre-publish work? Why doesn't it do this? Run before the package is published. Why is not pre-publish script running before publish? Oh, it's deprecated. Prepare? Okay. Oh, it's prepare. I learned something new now. So if I do... Oh, interesting. I had no idea about that. Okay, let's try now. So we're gonna... git push. Then we're gonna publish and let's see if it builds it. Look at that, it builds it. Oh. What's happening here? So mutate. Oh. Base mutation, mutate. Oh, sorry. This one's wrong. This should be P. There we go. And look at me just... Yeah, git status. Fix type error. I'm such a messy... There you go. I'm such a messy library author, you have no idea. Like, this is the thing. I'm just not very organized or disciplined. Like, I have a lot of bad qualities. But at the same time, I do have some good qualities as well. And hopefully they compensate. I think they typically do. Like, I wouldn't... Yeah, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if I didn't have any compensating skills. But I am pretty messy. I think that's why I enjoy the front end so much, because it's messy. Like, I've been working on the backend now, like with a service, working with backend engineers, and they're so like diligent and does things properly and like rebases their PRs, and it's like I'm so messy. But I don't enjoy being like proper. I enjoy the messy process. Like, I am a messy person. Like, I don't want to have, or I'm at least not bothered by having a bit of a mess at home. Okay, finally. So, pending params, look at this. So if we're gonna return null, I'm not gonna handle the, oh, yeah. So what we can also do here is like, is deleting, or is shopping. Shop grocery. It's a bit of a weird method name. Is shopping grocery. I guess that would be the, and then we're gonna do this. It's a bit more clear. Oh, is shopping grocery, return null. Fine. So now if the mutation didn't work, it would just yeah, it would still be gone. I wouldn't actually show an error. Yeah, but I don't care. It always works. And then when I'm adding, let's see, where do I have the actual list? Here's the list. Add grocery. So the pending params here is, oh, now I see an issue. This is interesting. Oh, now I see a problem with like not having UI state. This is such an interesting place where it reveals itself. So add grocery doesn't take a title. So, or it doesn't take a name, right? So I'm going to change this because I want that name to be defined in the UI. I guess I could still have like the filter here, but I don't think, yeah, I don't think that makes sense. The problem now is that now I can't make this a computed because it needs to rely on, doesn't Mobx have computed with Mobx computed? I think they have computed with arguments. Yeah, keep alive. I think I remember this back in the day. I was working on computeds, and then you could actually pass arguments to it, and then it would kind of cache it based on the argument. But yeah, that doesn't make any sense. So I think in this case, we actually just want to pass filter groceries. We just want to have the method there. But it's interesting how there's suddenly a friction between caching that list of filter groceries and passing it as a param. Yeah, it's very interesting. Hmm. Yeah. I'm not gonna get hung up on that right now. Probably later, but filter groceries. Filter. And then we're gonna make that local state. Filter, filter, filter. Set filter. And we're gonna pass in the filter. Okay. So we should be back up and running now. Test, add. Oh yeah, sorry. We're not actually showing the optimistic one. Yeah, and we want to reset like so. What was I doing? Yeah, so we have pending params here, and now we have name. So we could call it. Now, one challenge though we haven't talked about there. Maybe we can do that before I end the stream. Is pending grocery name. Pending grocery name. What if I want to have multiple? Oh, didn't it remove it? Wait, that was weird. Test. Oh, that was also weird. Oh yeah, sorry. It's of course because this isn't just an li. How would I do this? I wanted to show the same. Oh, we don't need a key here. On click. You know what? We're not gonna do this. We're gonna do exactly what it needs. On click, name, string, on click. Yeah, and then we're gonna move this. On click, name. Since we have this optimistic thing, is shopping grocery. Shopping grocery ID. So we're gonna change this. We're gonna say when it's running through this, we're gonna check shopping grocery ID and grocery.id equals, well, shopping grocery ID equals grocery.id. We're just gonna say null, or we're gonna render the thing. And then we're gonna pass in name, grocery.name. And then on click, we're gonna do groceries shop grocery grocery.id. Oh, sorry, mutate. That's also a thing I'm wondering a little bit about, is if we should rather make the mutation a function. So you just call it still. I think that makes more sense. And then you have just these added properties on the function, which is like error is pending params and value. Because I constantly forget to call mutate. I think we're going to do that. Maybe we can do that as like the final thing. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe we should think about that. Anyways, so now what we can do, when we have pending grocery name, we can say grocery name is pending grocery name on click. Doesn't do anything. Oh. Okay, let's see how it works now. So test. Why doesn't it? Oh, fudge. Pending params. Sorry. Let's call this params. Excuse me. Okay, again. If I only had tests. Fix pending params. And publish. And it builds it. That's amazing. One thing I haven't thought about, I can actually just link the package, not do all this publishing all the time. Yeah, but I have 2 computers where I work on this stuff, so yeah. Was it 8? No, was 9, was it? Or was it 8? Oh, it was 8. I really dislike the new thing, the minimize thing. I have to click 2 times now. I wonder what they were thinking about that. Okay, so we're gonna test. Boop, it's there. And then I don't even notice that it suddenly is a thing. But I could give it like a tiny indication, but it's so fast that it doesn't matter. And now that works. That's pretty cool. Yeah, so maybe I can like do, you know what? We are gonna show, you know what? We are gonna show a little thingy. We are gonna show a little thingy. I changed my mind. So this null thing, that makes a lot of sense. Let's keep it like this. That's something else we can work on. Okay, I think that's fine for now. The thing I wanted to talk about last is that currently we have a single mutation for adding and a single mutation for shopping, which means that if I were to like quickly shop like 3 items, we would actually like the mutation would still go through on the server because we already sent the request, but the mutation itself wouldn't like would no longer be, so for example, shopping grocery ID would change every time I click something, which means that it would only like, if I faded out as I was removing groceries, it would like, it would only fade out one of them. And then suddenly, like, if you can imagine like me just tapping very quickly, and then it would just fade the one I'm clicking and then unfade the previous one, but then suddenly it would disappear, right? So it's very interesting how you think about these mutations in the context of optimistic params or pending params, because now you might want to do yeah, like, so one thing is buying or shopping a grocery. What you can do is I could build like an actual like grocery state around it. So every grocery has its own mutation for being bought or shopped. Is that even a verb? Why do we call it shopping? What's the past tense of shopping? I am shopping. I shopped. It doesn't. That's weird. Anyways, so I bought the grocery, and that means that each grocery can take care of their own like buying mutation or shopping mutation. Or is the past tense of shopping bought? Or I was buying, bought, I was shopping. Oh, shopping, yeah, whatever. But when you're adding a grocery, right? What if you want to show the pending state for each added grocery? And then you're a bit more fucked, because there isn't any way to. And what if one of, like, if you add too quickly? How does React Query handle this? I am really fascinated. Oh, how do you type this? Fascinated. Oh yeah, that's by React Query and how it handles optimistic updates. But I am curious about the scenario where I am, for example, adding a new. Yeah, so I guess the way you would do that is, as long as you have a pending mutation, you can't like add another thing. So you can only add one thing at a time. But I'm curious about this now where I'm, for example, adding a new to-do. I can show that new to-do optimistically while the to-do is being added on the server. But what if I want to be able to add multiple to-dos that are pending on the server? I guess normally I would disable the add button while a mutation is running. But what if I do not want that behavior? How would I handle this? Yeah, I'm curious about this. Managing concurrent optimistic updates. Interesting. I'm very curious what the answer is to this. What we can do in the meantime, though, we can say, where's the add? Input. Where are you? There's the add button. filter. Oh, and no pending. So now it's disabled when we're actually adding something as well. Okay, when you allow multiple concurrent optimistic updates, for instance, adding several to-dos at once without disabling the add to-do, you need to design your state updates and rollback logic in a way that each mutation can be tracked individually. In essence, each optimistic update should be tagged with a unique identifier so that you can reconcile it later when the server response comes back. Assign it a temporary ID, for example, using a UUID or another unique string. This ID acts as a placeholder that lets you identify. Okay, so it's basically just, okay. So it's basically just having like a record. Yeah, so you kind of have a function called add to do, and that add to do is going to put an actual mutation into like a record or something. It could even be in an array. It doesn't have to be tagged by UID. You could just push that mutation into an array. And then when the mutation is done, successfully completed, you will kind of just move it away from that array. And then for your optimistic updates, you would just iterate that array instead to find like the list of pending. Yeah, so that would be fine. Yeah, whatever. Cool. But yeah, that's it for now. So we're just gonna continue working on this thing. I haven't written any more documentation yet. I'm not in the documentation groove. But yeah, we're just gonna continue refactoring the app. And then we're going to use these optimistic updates. We're going to make everything queries and so on and so on. And yeah, let's finish this app. So I think that will be like, if we're happy with the result and we're kind of, okay, this is worth releasing. I think I want to, like, since Michel, the original author of Mobx, was pumped about the transparent observation thing, I want to ask him, like, if we get to a point where we kind of have this website with documentation and this reference project, just ask him if he has time to take a look at it and what he thinks, if it's worth it. Because if he thinks it's worth it, it would also help like getting some attention to it. Yeah. Okay. I think that's the plan. Thanks for following along. And then, yeah, we'll spend some more time together as soon as possible and continue the refactor.